Goblins vs Abyss Battle Report. Stay tuned.
Hello there! I like to watch battle reports to get better at games. So I started making short, summarized battle reports that focus on learning points. So welcome to my channel, Newbie Dice. Do like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you enjoy my videos. Do consider speeding up this video with the YouTube settings to consume this content or other YouTube content in a fraction of the time.
Okay, so this is a battle featuring my new Goblins, and I've been going into Goblins this 2023 year, and I painted my Goblins pink, which is where you see here. This is my first horde of Goblin Rebel completed, and it's mixed with some Redkin units, if you can see here behind the wordings. Okay, so that I can multi-use them as Redkin hordes and Goblin hordes in future. Okay, and I'm keeping up with my pink team because it started with me using pink as the color team for my Basileans, which went into Green Lady, and it's sort of becoming signature of my army now that I'm using pink. So when I started my Goblin army, I was thinking of whether to make their clothing pink, but instead I thought of making their skin pink instead. So because I also don't like standard colors, and it's like Goblins, you always see Goblins green, right? So maybe I can turn it on its head, and so these are my pink Goblins. So the next few cover pictures, you'll slowly see my other units that are being painted. So with that, this is my list, Goblin Reborn. So this word Reborn is just to help me keep track of which version of this Goblin list that I'm on. So my final list that I'm playing currently is quite close to this list, so there's some minor tweaks, but the main bulk of the list is somewhat there. So I'll go into it: 4 hordes of Rebel, 1 horde of Trolls. They're not with dead packs. Okay, so Mincemob with Rule of Sharpness, and there's a regiment, so this is a very hitty unit, right? 24 attacks on average, 16 hits, so 11 wounds or so, with Crush 1, Thunder 1 on the defense 5, and Brutal, so that's 12, right? So needing just 5 twice to kill, so this is a very little unit, just to anchor the sort of crappy melee of the rest of the list. But it's not too shabby, right? 2 trombones, 2 mop-up launchers, 2 wingets, and the part that's not too shabby in both shooting and melee is the Goblin Slasher, 220 points with trombones mounted on them, and they're height 6 trombones, which very often they don't suffer cover unless you're inside the forest, so that's the amazing part about them. And in melee, they also hit harder with 10 attacks hitting on trees with Crush 2, and they're Strider, so they're never hindered in their charge. King offers, with Grony Snark upgrade, offers a decent melee combat as well, with the Blasty 3 and Thunderous 2 flying, okay, with the Headstrong Aura. Okay, Bang It to offer its Shattering, comes with an Inspiring Talisman. And I have a Wizard with Lightning Bolt and Alchemist Curse 2, King on Chariot, also for that hybrid fast mobile unit with unit strength, able to shoot 7 attacks or charge with 7 attacks, Crush 1, Thunder 1, Nimble, Inspire. So I like this unit as well. Comes with Talk of Dissonance to stop nasty spells. My opponent has Forces of the Abyss and only 1 Cronius. I made a mistake of duplicating the second half of the list with the Cronius again. Alright, so 2 Ghouls, Gargoyles, 2 Morlocks with the upgrades, 3 Tortured, no, alright, 2 Regiments and 1 Horde. Okay, Cronius, Fiend, Champion with Wings, Seductress with Shield, Zazuzu, and Well of Souls. Okay, if you're from the Asia Pacific region, do consider checking out Hammer House website for your hobby needs. They carry a wide range of miniatures and hobby supplies, including Mantic, Vallejo, Scale 75, and Green Stuff World products. Alright, that was a shout out to my local game store. They do have lots of stuff in terms of hobby, materials, and game lines, so do check it out. If you're in the Asia Pacific region, they do ship regionally and even globally if the cost makes sense to you. Right, so we're playing Race, so this is the deployment, and Scout, but nobody has Scout, and the numbers indicate the order in which we drop the units at. So he started dropping his cheap units on the side to defend his tokens, and yep, as we spread it out. So a thing to take note is we're both pretty light in this lane. Oops, get the pen out. We're both pretty light in this area. Okay, and quite heavy here, heavy here, here with this forest that he hopes to be able to provide him with some cover. Okay, so with that, things are off. Okay, these are the name of the units if you're wondering what is what. Okay, so he advances up. Zazuzu steps into the king on chariot for 1 damage. Okay, one thing that I do take note was that his Molochs moved up quite aggressively into the range of some of my shooting stuff. So here, this is already in, right? Lightning bolt. Okay, so he moved in range into some of my shooting stuff, but without other things that's being in range other than the Well of Souls. Okay, these Molochs are still behind the forest, so he couldn't charge. So I thought that was a bit exposed, and so hence I went for it. So let's look at things over here. Okay, so I shot all these things I did. These white numbers represent the average damage it should deal. Okay, the king should do, Brony King should do 1.25, Slasher 3.3, Wing It 2, but he has Vicious, so 2.x. Alright, 1.25 from the Wizard Lightning Bolt, and more Pulp Launcher here, and then there's a more Pulp Launcher here, 1.5 also. So added together, I would deal 9.83. Okay, so I dealt 10, so we're just about there. Okay, 9.83 plus because of the Vicious from the Winged. Okay, and I rolled a lucky 8 twice to kill it. Okay, so it was a little bit lucky on me. So on the other hand, this 3 units shot over here at the ghouls and should deal 6.5. I only dealt 5. So once again, bottom of 1, taking out a big hammer unit. That is quite a big deal. Okay, and even if I don't take out, so why did I position this way? So this rebel, right, it moved up very little. Okay, because I want to create this window here. If I'm not wrong, the Molochs couldn't fit to charge the couldn't fit to charge the slasher, or maybe it could, but you'll be hindered. I'm not sure about that, but it could be. Okay, so another thing to take note is that if you're playing race or any loot or not loot objective based scenario against an enemy like myself with infantry hordes, this kind of long footprint hordes, okay, infantry or heavy infantry or large infantry hordes, even not hordes, legions, large infantry legions, or even cavalry hordes, right, that 200 or more than 200 in frontage, you have to be careful, because if you put tokens exactly 12 inch apart, right, the footprint of this horde can contest both these tokens will be within 3 inches. So when I fight against units with an opponent with 200 or more frontage, I'll space them at least, I mean there's an exact formula, but I think putting it 14 to 15 inch apart would be quite safe. Okay, so that he doesn't get to contest one unit or one unit into 2 tokens. Alright, so taking note of that. So let's see how the opponent responds. So firstly, Zazuzu here, because my Winged went over the hill so they can see over and shoot at the ghoul over here. Okay, so it is quite exposed, so Zazuzu Lightning Bolt dealt 3 damage to it. Okay, the Tortured Souls charged in, should deal 5, dealt 6 instead. Okay, and this Tortured Souls jumped in, so with that, right, he has 6 unit strength over here over my 5. There's 2 on my this one and 3 here. So he burnt off this race token. Okay, from that, and this Tortured Souls is threatening the flanks. Okay, the other ghoul charged in to block the other rebel. Okay. I found it a little bit interesting that these 2 units did not charge in. Okay, because what happened over here with these 2 rebel charge, right? This rebel can't slide much to make way for the mincers to come in. Okay, he could only move about an inch or so. The mincers couldn't charge in. Perhaps if he charged enough things, right, my mincers could be able to come in, but I doubt so. Okay, or maybe this is within 10 of things if he come too close. So maybe if he charged 2 things in, then this would be within 10. Eyeballing is on UB, I think it's almost 10. Okay, so on the right side, he moved things up. Right, Tortured Souls out here. Moloch still choosing to stay out of the forest, so I can't see it. Okay, so he decided to expose one unit but keep the other one outside. I can't see him, but he also can't do anything next turn. Okay, Cronius moved into the forest. Okay, the Seductress with shield charged into the trolls, dealing 1 damage to hold it. Okay, so next on the bottom of 2. So let's talk about the right side. I shot all these things in yellow into him. Should deal 11 with shattering, and I dealt exactly that, and I killed it. Okay, I still had extra shots, so these two pumped into the Cronius, so it should deal about 5, and I did that. Okay, because Alchemist Curse is really strong, right? Even in cover, you know, most of the hits will convert into wounds, right? Over on the left side, let's see, with that Tortured Souls threatening the side, right? So I shot all my shooting into it. Okay, should deal 8.5, dealt 8, and I rolled the 6 twice to kill it. Okay, this star probably meant eye in the sky, so I would probably on average have more than 1.5 because he has elite. Okay, so over on the rebel side, okay, I countercharged the ghouls, dealt 6 damage to it. I'm not sure why I didn't countercharge the Tortured Souls. I think maybe if I countercharge the Tortured Souls, it will expose the ghoul to flank charge me. I think. I can't be too sure about that. Okay, so nonetheless, I countercharged the ghouls. And yep, this rebel moved up aggressively since the threat is gone, the Moloch threat is gone, but keeping the forest in front of me, so anything, well, he has Strider, but this one will be hindered, right? Okay, so yep, alright, so what happened over here? Yeah, the Winged got shot by Lightning Bolt, right? So now the Abyssal Champion charged in and finished off the Winged. Okay, so over here, this thing double charged again, dealing 1 above average again, so now it's on 12, and wavered. Okay, over here, the Well of Souls dealt a little bit of damage, and wavered as well, probably double 6. Okay, and over on the right side, okay, Cronius charged in, should do an average of 5 with a Cloak of Death into 6, only dealt 5. The Seductress, so the previous turn, my trolls hit the Seductress. I should do 3, not 4.5. I forgot about Ensnare. Okay, 5 to hit would be 6 hits. For the wound, cause of shield, would be 3 wounds. Dealt 6, double of that. Wavered it, but it has, nonetheless, it has Fury, so it punched back in. But it's not gonna matter, right? Because I have regen, I have a high enough nerf, probably not going to grind me out. Okay, so next, yeah, Cronius in, and then the Moloch's position itself to charge. Alright. So what I did in response, because these 2 rebels were wavered, so I flew Grony Snuck in over here and gave the Headstrong Aura. Okay, and they both passed their Headstrong Aura. So this one went into the Well of Souls to ground it. This one punched into the ghouls again, but only wavering it. Okay, and I shot some damage into the Tortured Souls. Okay, so he screened. So when he charged his Well of Souls in, he didn't want to be flanked by the horde of rebels, so he positioned the Fiend to be able to take this. So I have these 2 hordes being traffic jammed together. So my mincers are still not be able to get in, and this mincer couldn't charge this flank also. So it's totally stuck until rebels start dying. Okay. So over on the right side, okay, the rebel backed up from the Cronius, and all the shooting went in. Okay. Yep, this is the amount of damage I should deal, and I should deal close to 14. I only dealt 12, but I got the nerf roll to kill it. Okay, I'm not sure, this could be slightly out of 6 inches. It looks pretty close, so I might only need to roll once. Okay, and I probably whiffed the Bangit because the shattering is not placed there. Yeah, so that's the strength of the shooting. Death by 1,000 cuts, lots of small little shots. This small pup. I think this small pup shot launched a pup somewhere. Okay, I could have launched pups here and here because I think I moved. So when you move, you can still deliver pups, but you can't shoot into enemies. Okay, so next, on the top of 4, my opponent, let's talk about the right side. The Morlocks charged in and unfortunately did not even waver this Rebel Horde. Okay, so which is quite sad. Yep, the Cronius dealt 1 below average and the Morlocks dealt 1 below average, so it's only on 13. Did not even get the 6 to waver it. Okay, so with that, the trolls are coming in. Well, even if you waver it, you don't kill the trolls or charge in from the flank, although it's hindered, right? Let's see over on the left side. So things just punch back, punch back. Okay, and this Tortured Souls backed up. Not sure why, but it did, right? Dealt some damage. I think another lucky waver on the king over here, and then the champion killed the Mopap launcher. Okay, bottom of 4. Let's start from the left side. I finally killed off this Ghoul Horde, and this Rebel Horde is taken up to 15. So I'm a bit lucky in that 15 and it did not die. Okay, but he did deal above average for the past 2 turns. Okay, so perhaps over 3 turns, it should deal about about 14, about 552. So he should do about 12, but he's already at 15. So a little bit above average in the damage, but lower than average in the nerf. Okay, so let's see. I finally killed the Rebel. This is the bottom of 4. Finally killed the Rebel. The Ghouls. Okay, this unit back up, and I just shot the Slasher in. But hey, I got a waver, double 6 probably. Okay, this unit killed the Morlocks with the flanking trolls. That will be 12 hits and 10 wounds from the trolls on its own. Rebel would have 8 hits and 4 wounds. Right, that will be 14 just based on the average. Okay, I only dealt 13, and I think I loaded more pup into it, so I should do 1, 6, 3, 2 more. I should do 16 actually. Only dealt 13, but nonetheless got the nerf roll to break it. So this is the bottom of 4 with that. My Winged also flew over and burned this race token. Okay, my Grony went to give the Headstrong Aura. Now it's charging Zazusu, stopping it from casting Lightning Bolt. So my Winged is going to fly 20 and burn this token next turn and then fly again. Okay, and I'm most likely gonna get the center because my Slasher is gonna charge in. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably gonna get the center. So even if this Rebel was killed, things will start coming in. And with this Rebel killing the Ghouls, you know, if he charged the Tortured Souls into the Rebel, he's a good chance of killing the Rebel. So if this Rebel Horde gone, this Horde can finally slide and my Mincers can come into play. Okay, so yeah, on the combat wise, things are looking grim for the opponent. In terms of the raise token, it's not over yet, but he is most likely unable to get both of this, while I still have a good chance of getting this. Okay, if he charged the Tortured Souls to hold this Rebel or kill this Rebel, then nothing is there to stop this Chariot, and the Chariot can come and contest these tokens as well. Okay, so with that, because it's a play by email game, you know, each turn takes some effort and time going back and forth. So sometimes when the game feels lost, the opponent will call it so that we don't have to keep going back and forth with play by email games. So let's talk about learning points. Advance cautiously until you get ready into threat range. So that's talking about his first unit of Morlocks are moving quite aggressively, while the other units are still quite far behind. So the 17-inch trombone range for 17-inch rate for trombones and bangits. He didn't come into this, but he did come within 19-inch of the Slasher. So he did the Slasher stuff. Winged was able to shoot at it. Winged can potentially fly 10 and shoot 12, but usually it doesn't fly the full 10. It likes to stay behind things so that it doesn't get shot or charged at. So a lot of times it's hanging out behind the rebel. So it might be limited to the 5-inch movement of the rebel, or if the rebel moves up more. So the only long range that goblins have tend to be the lightning bolt and war engines. So that and for my particular build, only two war engines and 1 lightning bolt. So it's not very strong. And then once you expose your juicy targets, you should go all in. So my opponent exposed the Tortured Soul Horde, but the Morlocks did not step into the forest. So I could concentrate all my shooting into the Tortured Souls without worrying about the Morlocks charging me next turn. So defense 4 units try to keep in cover as much as possible against shooting especially. Okay, and one downside that Abyss has is that hammer units are vulnerable to shooting. Morlocks are defense 4. They are great in melee because they have 16-18 nerf and fury. So sometimes you are wounding already on 2s, right? A lot of things can get crushing 2 or 3 even against defense 5. So sometimes defense 5 with an opponent having crushing 2 plus Bane Chance, right? They are still wounding you on 2s. But they are limited by having 18 attacks. So 18 attacks is 12 hits and 10 wounds, 8 twice to kill. So Morlocks often survive based on that. And with Fury, they countercharge. And the Horsemen, they are defense 5, but they have 1 lower nerf than the elite nerf of 15-17. And both then, their waiver mitigation tag is Fury. So you wouldn't purchase another item for Headstrong or even Staying Stone because they already have Fury. But Fury, unfortunately, doesn't help against shooting. So even if I only wavered the Morlocks, I dealt 10 damage and rolled a 6 to waver, which is quite likely, right? You would regen some wounds and then I would shoot again and do that average 10 wounds and you definitely die the second time around. Okay, my opponent split up the Cronius and Well in this game. So the Cronius took 5 damage, right? And then it couldn't heal itself. That's the weakness of the Cronius. Right, so it would be great if the Cronius... So what happens when you have Well and Cronius? The Well will suck the Cronius's wounds, and then the Cronius would heal the Well's wounds, which came from the Cronius anyway. And then the Well has Life Leech 5 as well. So even a recent Lone Wolf tournament, one of the best battle players, highest score in battle if I'm not wrong, he ran Well of Souls with double Cronius, and they're always in the center together. So the thing about Goblin in melee, right, is they tend to have Rebel Hordes as front lines. So with them as front lines, it's very cumbersome. So sometimes it's hard to get the second wave in. Like my Mincers did not get in the whole game. Okay, so these are something you can think about while combating Goblins, in the sense that yes, they do have some melee threat, but sometimes it's very easy to jam them up. Okay, so for my case, I had my 2 hordes together. Rebel. So the Mincers couldn't come in, right? So even if there's no Rebel horde here, right, my opponent could play something here to prevent my Rebel from being able to slide. Okay, then my Mincers can't come in again. When he charge you here, they play something here, it blocks the Rebel from sliding much. Even just a 1 inch, right, if you're able to come. So that is not enough for the Mincers to come in. Okay. So lastly, I do have quite some luck in this game, right? They have some spike dice roll, but in the end is this, right? We have to roll dice to kill. You can't kill units without rolling dice. You have to deal damage so that you can start nerf checks. Okay, or you at least need to roll to hit with Mind Fog. Okay, so without rolling dice, you can't take opponent's units off the table. So the shooting armies get to roll dice first, or at least significant enough number of dice. Okay, so they get the chance to kill first. Right, so you will feel this when you fight against shooting units. It's like, oh, on average, this unit is not supposed to die to shooting. Well, guess what? He gets to roll. As long as he gets to roll, there's a chance that he spikes, and there's a chance that this will happen. So when you're thinking about average dice roll, that's the 50% result. So as long, he could roll that 20% luckier, right? So that's where it spikes, and then is enough to take off the enemy units. So think about that, the earlier because they get to roll first, right, those spikes will happen, right? The game, Kings of War is not always 50%, the average results happening all the time, right? That's the fun of it, that's the craziness of it. You have to adapt to situations where things die when you don't expect to, things survive when you don't expect them to. Okay, with that, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I do a shout out to my patrons: 1Peep Anonymous, Peep Luke Schaefer, and 4Peep Alessandro Serpe. Thank you so much to keep my channel going, and do like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Leave a comment on what you think of this matchup. You know, Goblin with shooting heavy against something like Forces of the Abyss with low defense, hammers, very vulnerable to shooting. How's your experience against shooting armies, playing against shooting armies, and with shooting armies? Okay, what are the good and bad matchups into shooting? Okay, and leave a review on my Newbie Dice podcast. If you're listening to my podcast, leave it a review on iTunes or whatever podcast app you listen to it to. My last project was the podcast, and podcasts are killer, man. The editing time is crazy. I think I spent about 20 hours editing the last episode, so that's how crazy podcast can be. And hats off to Rob Fanuf, who's able to do podcasts so consistently. Okay, so if you'd like to support my mission on Patreon, do support me at patreon.com/newbiedice. So my mission is to help people play better, get better in the game, so that they are able to play, they get to enjoy their games and not make silly mistakes early into the game, or mistakes because of inexperience. So I would like you to get some experience here so that you are able to play a nice, decent game, have a good back and forth struggle, and at that point of time, whether you win or lose, you still enjoyed the game. So yep, if you support what I'm doing, do consider supporting me on Patreon. So with that, that's my battle report. I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.